Hi, welcome to the Npower SQL training video. In this video, we will take a look at what a database really is. Then we will discuss how to set up a database. We will also take a look at SQL syntax, data types in SQL, operators, condition and expression in SQL, and many more. In the course of taking this video, you will learn how to write SQL queries, how to fetch data from the DB, manipulate those data, and use them to yield your perfect results. Now, let us proceed with the steps. In this particular module, we will take a look at what a database really is and what SQL is. Now, what is a database? A database is an organized collection of data, generally stored and accessed electronically from a system. Now, let's break down what we meant by that definition. Now, let's look at the database in form of a container that consists of related data. These data are organized such that any other source can tap into the container and access the data inside. That is exactly what we meant by a database. It's more or less like a central storage of persistent data. Now let's take a look at what SQL is. The term SQL means structured query language. The structured query language is a standard language for accessing and manipulating databases. Now, one major thing you need to know about SQL is that SQL is the language that allows you to access and manipulate databases. Let's talk about the uses of SQL. Firstly, you can use SQL to execute queries against a database. We can also use SQL to retrieve data from a database. You can use SQL to insert the records from your web form into the database. You can also use SQL to collect input from your website, and then after inserting those inputs, also we can update records in a database. We can use SQL to create new database. We can create views in a database. And lastly, we can also set permissions on table, procedures, and views in a database. Now, let's talk about how we can use SQL in our websites. To build a website that shows data from a database, we will definitely need a database program. We can either use MX Access, SQL Server, Oracle, or MySQL. Secondly, we would need to combine SQL with a server-side scripting language like PHP or ASP. Thirdly, to use SQL to get data you want. And then lastly, we can use SQL in our website to fetch data we want on our web pages. With this, we have come to the end of the introductory session of this video. In the next video, we'll be taking a look at SQL syntax.